welcome back to another video. I know the market's been absolutely wrecked recently. We had Solana hitting 125, 120, Ethereum hitting 6-month lows in BTC, sub 90. So I thought to myself, it's a good time to revisit my thesis, re-look into my portfolio. As you do, you want to obviously de-risk, trim any of the risky assets. I also got a new mic. I got a DJI mic mini, so hopefully the sound should be much better. It cost me like $1, so hopefully that's worth it. The breakdown of this video is going to be news. I'm going to go over some notable news quickly. Then I'm going to go into charts. I've got about 10 plus charts of the actual network activity. And then lastly, I'm going to go over potential my price predictions and some interesting things that I think that happen in Solana ecosystem, or things that need to be addressed, like memes, etc. So let's get started. So recently we had PayPal announce their stablecoin live on Solana. Previously, these kind of news will only happen on Ethereum. No other chain, these big companies wouldn't even risk associating themselves with any other blockchain. The fact that they have it on Solana is actually a big deal. Next up, we have Visa. So Visa taps a USDC stablecoin to boost border payments. That's also on the Solana network. Previously, companies like Visa would only exclusively use Ethereum. Now we're slowly seeing the conversation being Ethereum and Solana. That's like a theme that we're going to continue seeing. Next up, we have futures. So futures basically almost guarantees ETFs happening later on. The 17th, I'm shooting this on the 15th, we're going to have futures launching. If you see here, I got this website called Polymarket. It's 89% now that ETFs going to be approved in 2025, because once the futures go through, ETFs are pretty much guaranteed. We saw the same thing happen with Ethereum. Also, you have volatility shares. So this place is where they get listed before they're pretty much official. Next up, I want to talk about some like deep in ROA news. We have here Securitize. They're like the juggernaut, the biggest players in the ROA space. Previously, they were just on Ethereum, I believe, but recently they also decided to go on Inc and Solana. So Inc is, I believe, is Kraken's layer 2 on top of Ethereum, and also Solana. Okay, so these are the biggest players. You can look at their funding; they're one of the biggest players, and so we've also basically seen ROA also pick up on Solana. Next up, we have Telefonica. So these are the company that owns O2. If you're in the UK, they partnered with Helium, which is obviously a deep in network in Solana. So that happened recently in Mexico. And then we have a company called TomTom. So if you're in the UK, this is a big, before it was known a lot for satellite navigation data. So they've also partnered with a company, I believe it was HiveMapper, which is another company in Solana. Here, just a thread that I saw recently, Solana post, there's 13 projects that you can actually use on Solana today. As you can see, the beauty about Solana, because it's fast and cheap, guys, this is actually possible to do. As you saw, Helium previously was on Ethereum. Because Solana is so fast and cheap, there's only one place you can do certain things, right? That's why they have this acronym called OPIS, or OPOS, only possible on Solana. You just can't do it on Ethereum, right? Even layer 2s are too expensive. Next up, we have the most popular wallet now, probably after Phantom. MetaMask recently said that they're going to natively support Solana and Bitcoin, which is a big deal, because I believe MetaMask has 100 million monthly active users, something crazy like that. They're the GOG wallet, right? If you guys remember, like my early days in crypto, we used to use a wallet called My Ethereum wallet, and then this became the biggest wallet, MetaMask. I'm not the biggest fan of it in terms of the UI UX, but now I prefer to use Rabi. But this is huge for Solana, because now instantly all those users are going to get access to Solana and Bitcoin. Next up, we have 00. So 00 is not a block, it's not a layer 1 or layer 2. It's a network that's going to provide fast infrastructure specifically made for high throughput blockchains. So previously the internet wasn't made for blockchain, and so although it does a good job now, in the future there'll be a lot of high throughput blockchains, Solana hopefully being one of them. And what 00 is basically trying to do is make infrastructure for that specific use case. So the guy that left to make this, name is Austin Federa. He was at the Solana Foundation. Solana is going to be the first one to be implemented, or first use case. So that's very bullish, and probably one of the most exciting projects in crypto since Celestia and Eigenlayer. Next up, we have here SEC acknowledges Solana ETF. These happen almost every other day now. I see some sort of ETF news on Solana or Ethereum. If Solana has staking, it will be bullish, because obviously investors like dividends, A, and B, with the ETF going through, because the Solana's market cap is way lower than Ethereum, I believe it can actually move higher. So the same amount of money would move Solana. Next up, we have Pengu. The reason why I wanted to mention this is this project was previously on Ethereum. I believe they have the NFTs on Ethereum, but they decided to do an airdrop on Solana, even though the founders of Pengu have actually a layer 2 called Abstract. Solana is where everything is happening. You can't avoid it, okay? And also, when you do airdrops, it's just just the fastest and cheapest solution out there. Like, people already have Phantoms. It's very good. I claimed this airdrop and it was very intuitive. It's very easy to do. Next up, we have a company called Sol Strategies. You can think of it like the micro strategy of Solana. You can look at their stock. I believe it's called Cypher or Hodl, but they're doing a lot of interesting stuff in the Solana space. They're acquiring staking validators and they're also acquiring Sol. And I believe they've got some partnership with Web2 companies to have staking infrastructure, etc. And I think in the future there'll be more companies like this. And also, it's a company worth looking into if you want some stock exposure to Solana. It kind of moves with Solana, but it could be an interesting play for people. They're doing a lot of big things in the Solana space, so really good to see that. Obviously, if you have more companies buying up Solana, then you know what that does to the asset, just like MicroStrategy. Next up, we have Firedancer. So Firedancer is another client. So Solana currently has one client. This is going to be another client. It's basically made by Jump Crypto, which is one of the biggest market makers in crypto. And their end goal, it won't happen anytime soon, in my opinion, is to A, de-risk Solana in terms of having a different client, and B, making the TPS go to 1 million. Now, obviously, I don't think the 1 million TPS will happen anytime soon, but even an incremental TPS upgrade would be very big. And Firedancer is one of the most hyped thing in Solana right now. Really looking for that to launch. Next up, we have Franklin Templeton seeks approval for staking Solana. The interesting thing about Franklin Templeton is they have an AUM of 1.5 trillion, okay, with a T, guys. So big, huge players. They're not obviously as big as BlackRock. I believe BlackRock runs like 10 trillion or something, but this is probably one of the biggest players. And obviously, once other companies and other portfolio managers see Franklin Templeton's demand of the Solana ETF, this could be huge for the Solana price and the whole ecosystem. That's basically the news. Now I want to actually talk about the analytics, the on-chain data of Solana, to show you guys the health of the network. Is it being used? And these are not my thoughts, okay? These are actual websites you can go on. These are the most trusted website in all of crypto, and you can actually see the network on-chain metrics. Okay, first up, we have Artemis, their go-to website for this kind of details. You can see top inflows. Okay, so Solana's constantly top 3 on most of these metrics. So you can see here top net flow. You have Base, Berachain, and Solana. Personally, I think Berachain, because obviously they launched recently, maybe a lot of people are trying to farm the high yields, etc. Hence why you got net inflow. But yeah, Berachain and Sonic. But usually constantly you see Solana being number 1. So that's top net inflows. Next, you can see other metrics here. So you have daily active addresses. You can see the green one is Solana. The second one is Near. So Near is an interesting one because I believe that's being used for coupons in some shopping mall in Asia or something along those lines. And hence why it's just shopping. It's just for that specific use case. Hence why it's got these active addresses. So you can see here clearly Solana is way above the rest. Then you have daily transactions. You can see here they're just light years ahead of every other chain, guys. So you 104.9 million daily active transactions. Then you have TVL. So the thing about TVL is total value locked. In Ethereum, you can see Ethereum is the top here with 63 billion. Solana has 11 billion. With the TVL in Ethereum, they count the stake in the TVL, whereas Solana doesn't. So that's just something to keep in mind. Then you got DEX volume. As you can see, this is probably when Trump launched. You can see DEX volumes, Solana constantly being way higher than everyone else or higher than Ethereum. Just recently is obviously with the meme market going down, it's gone down a bit, and I'm going to touch on memes later on. Then you have fees and revenue, but I mainly want to show those two charts. Next up, you have DEX volume. So DEX volume by chain. This March ain't finished yet, so we can look at February. Solana had 105 billion, BSC had 84 billion, then Ethereum had 82. Okay, so on the DEX volume, Solana is number 1. Then we have this thing called Dune Index, which I came across recently on Twitter, and it measures transaction fees, transfer volume, and number of transactions. And you can see here Solana is 40. Recently it was 80-90%, but even 40 you can see it's light years ahead of the rest. Next up you have Bitcoin, then you have Ethereum at 14%. Okay, and here they talk about what they actually measure: transaction fees, number of transactions, and USD of transfer values. Okay, this is another really interesting metric. Next up we have top 10 chains by app revenue. You can see Solana is literally eating the whole pie, right? You have 200 million. The next up is the next close up is Ethereum at 60 million. Okay, so Solana is multiple times more higher than the next biggest one. This is a thread by Galaxy, interesting account, therefore follow them. They do really good research. It says Solana still held largest share of total revenue in February, commanding 57% of observed chain fees. It has accounted for at least half of all chain revenue in 3 of the last 4 months. This green is Solana, guys. You can see clearly where the trajectory is, and it also coincides with my thesis of only a few blocks will have most of the activity in the future. This is a really interesting stat, okay? It accounts for 57% of observed chain fees. Next up, we have this real economic revs. This is I believe Blockworks research came up with this term, and it quantifies real demand, okay, for blockchain. And it says here Solana revenue rev amount of 196 million in February, commanding 52% of global demand to transact on chain versus 2021 for Ethereum. Okay, so you can see here is the green here. Okay, so global demand to transact on chain. This is green Solana. Okay, and that blue is Ethereum. So you can see clearly the trajectory is Solana has been doing extremely well. Next up, we have here Rev. So this is another metric. Dan Smith followed this account, really interesting as well, and talks about Rev fees plus tips to transact, measuring transaction demand and value capture on user activity. Here's the weekly update. So Solana is 18.1 million, 30% and minus 4%. Okay, Rev market share is 8%, and then Ethereum at 23. Then you have Tron and BNB. Tron is basically just used for stablecoin, which I believe will slowly move more onto Solana. That's another thesis of mine. And then you have BNB of 6%. We have here a report, Solana Floor tweeting, Solana apps generated more revenue than all other apps combined in February. So this is the most recent data. Market share 54%, revenue 285 million. All other chains combined, guys, that's including Ethereum. Okay, so they put the link, Blockswork link that you can check out. Then you have here a thread by Syndica, another interesting account, therefore follow them. It says no other blockchain comes close. Solana is eating Web3. Solana dApps have command 75% of total dApp revenue across all chains, cementing Solana's dominance as the undisputed leader in revenue generation. You can see the green is Solana and the purple is Ethereum. We have a developer report by Electric Capital. They do this every year, and here you can see for the first time Solana ecosystem got more developers. So ever since Ethereum was made, Ethereum was the number one for developers. The new developers would go onto Ethereum. This is the first year in 2024 Solana had the most new developers. Next we have Franklin Templeton argues Solana DeFi is undervalued. I mentioned Franklin Templeton, they run 1.5 trillion, and they basically made a case why Solana coins, Solana DeFi coins are undervalued compared to their Ethereum counterpart. Here you can see them, you can actually read this report, but yeah, that's what they say. Next up, we have the two main metrics that Ethereum beats Solana is TVL, which I mentioned earlier. They include the staked Ethereum in the TVL, and the second one is stable coins. Okay, stable coins on Ethereum is much higher. So the total stable coins is 123 million, then you got Tron, and then you got Solana 11 billion, 12 billion. So the interesting thing about Solana is beginning of this year it was like 2-3 billion or 4-5 billion, and very quickly within 1-2 months they've had 5-6 billion, as in the rate of increase has been exponential. Ethereum is still the champion in this world, but Solana's catching up. This is the only two metrics where Ethereum is higher, way higher than Solana. So those are the analytics, so you can decide for yourself what you think about the chain. And now I just want to talk about some interesting things in Solana. So first of all, we had unlocks happening. I think the unlocks were pretty much priced in. I think the reason why it dropped recently was because the whole market was doing bad, and so we saw some big players like Galaxy saying that they're gonna stake it and they're not gonna sell. Next up, we had SMID 228. So this was a proposal to reduce Solana's inflation by potentially 80%. It didn't go through, but what's interesting is some of the people that proposed it, like multi-chain capital, etc., a lot of people thought it's going to go through to Mer. A lot of big Solana people were pro 228. I personally wasn't, and the good thing is it didn't go through. What I want to mention is this proves that Solana decentralization, if Multicoin Capital was running Solana or certain figureheads were running Solana, it would have definitely passed, but it didn't, and that's really good. So that proves to the testament of Solana's decentralization. Next up, I want to mention something about memes. I proved to you guys about DeepIn and ROA. There are other things happening in Solana. To me, regardless of if you want to do memes or not, to me, memes stress test the network. That's just how I look at it. When Trump launched, we had a huge demand. I saw in a podcast the other day, the day Trump launched, the DEX is done twice more. They done more volume than Kraken and Coinbase combined on that one day. Okay, so that's a huge testament to Solana's blockchain. It's a stress test, speculation due to tech being able to handle it. So what I mean by that is there's always been speculation in crypto, guys. Ever since I've been in crypto, Ethereum, there was ICOs, there was NFTs. How many of these have use cases, right? I was there in the ice. There's very few that are still around that's doing anything. Chainlink, one of them, okay? Very few. So Solana is just another iteration of speculation, okay? Like it can just, people will always speculate. So the way I see it is bullish for Solana because it just means all the action is going to happen on Solana. And today's memes, tomorrow, whatever it is, it will happen on Solana. The day after, whatever it is, it'll happen on Solana because now everyone has a Phantom wallet. They don't have Ethereum. Try using Ethereum on MetaMask, right? It's completely garbage. So for me, the whole, it's just like the memes couldn't happen on Ethereum because the gas fees are too high. Even on layer 2, who's going to do bridging and all that stuff, right? All my newbie friends, they have Phantom and they do what they need to do on Phantom, right? They don't have to do no bridging, get this ETH, bridge it to base. It's just too much. Crypto is already complicated. The last thing you want to do is make it more complicated. That's how I feel about memes. Yeah, I know memes have come down. I know there were some scammy things happening in the meme land. But for me, the meme thing is all bullish. Now, whether you want to invest in memes, that's a whole different thing, the high risk, whatnot. Lastly, price prediction. So as you guys know, I've always compared it with Ethereum. Now I just showed you guys every single metric in Solana is outperforming Ethereum apart from 2, right? And so now I actually believe Solana shouldn't be worth half of Ethereum. It should be worth at least 3/4 to the same market cap of Ethereum. That's honestly, that's just how I feel, and that's what the data says. It's not my opinion. This is what the data is saying. Previously, when I've made videos, Solana was still new. We hadn't had that kind of growth, but now it's just clear. Trump even launched his meme coin on Solana, guys. What can I say? That is just the data, okay? Regardless of how you feel about memes or whoever, right? This is the data telling you that everything is happening on Solana. I still like ETH, whatnot, but it's clear that all the action is happening on Solana right now, okay? And I see this trajectory going. Now, if in the future it changes, I could change my view if there's another blockchain. I do have a hedge position in Sui, to be transparent with you guys, but it's nothing compared to my Solana. The data shows Solana is still the number one for the foreseeable future. If it changes later, I'll make an updated video. But for now, it's clear who the winner is. And so you can see here, the market cap for Solana is 65 billion and Ethereum is 230 billion, okay? So you got a 3-4x multiple. And now don't forget, as the market goes up, as crypto goes up, as Bitcoin goes up, all of these market caps are going to go higher. So a 2-3x here would actually be a 4-5x, okay? In my opinion, Solana right now, $125, $130, it could easily hit 500, honestly. Like I've said 350 in the past. Now, without the ETF, in my opinion, 350 is what where I see it going. And with the ETF, I think 500, as long as there's no black swans or the bull market's not over, I still think it can go to $500, which is a 5x. Now, that wouldn't surprise me if it goes to 700, even a grand, right? Because of all the on-chain data. Now, I like to sandbag my predictions, so I guess we'll see. But I think for a 3 to 5x, it's the easiest play right now in the market. For me, this is the safest 3 to 5x in the market right now, bar none. And also, you're getting almost 10%, 12% if you're staking it. Those are my thoughts on Solana. Hope you guys like this video. It took me like almost a week to produce. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hit subscribe to the channel and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.